This is a repair of a full-tone, full drive 2 non-MOSFET pedal that a friend of mine brought in. The symptoms that it was having, clean pass through when the pedal was not activated. When it was turned on, the distortion was super oversaturated. So if you played quietly through it, you could hear the distortion kind of doing what it's supposed to. But if any sort of like real volume comes into the pedal, it just completely oversaturated and sounded awful. So did a little investigating here, and what we came up with was, well, first I did all the normal things. So I cleaned the switches out and made sure the contacts were all good. Cleaned and tightened all of the knobs, input, output jacks, all of that stuff. Then I realized that most likely what was happening here was something I had heard before in an amplifier, which was that the chip, the microchip, is failing. So I went ahead and did a little research to figure out what this microchip is, because Full-Tone has some of their components masked over with this weird plasticky compound, so you can't read what it is. But the internet knows, so that was easy to figure out. So I've got a replacement of this coming. We'll have to take apart the entire pedal and disassemble some of this like glued together material in order to get the board to come out, so I can desolder that and replace it. Another thing that was happening inside this pedal was the 9-volt jack was still in here. There was a piece of tape on it, but it wasn't really doing its job, and most likely that 9-volt jack shorted out at some point, and that's probably what caused this chip to fail. So I went ahead and clipped it out, put a little heat shrink on there, and then zip tied it down so that wouldn't be a problem in the future. All right, so we're gonna take this apart, take out the chip, and see if it fixes our problem. All right, guys, when you get down to a certain point, taking this apart, oops, sorry about that. You're going to have to desolder a couple of things in order to get the components out. So we've got some tabs that go to the lights that are glued in that we'll have to take off of the switches in order for it to come out. And I'm going to go ahead and desolder the input for the 9-volt adapter as well, so I can get the board out. And also you can see that there are these plastic guys in here. Those are gonna have to get cut away and replaced because they've been hot glued down inside there. So in order to get the board out, I'll have to probably destroy those and then replace them. Hooray. All right, we got this guy disassembled. I was able to save one of the mounts here. The other one I had to cut away, but this guy was not glued down so terribly bad that I couldn't pull it apart. Okay, so our integrated circuit chip here is in the center. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 tabs to desolder, and I'll do that using braid wick, desoldering wick, in order to get all of the solder off of there. And then we will pop out the old component, put in the new one. In case you're wondering, we've got a JRC 4558D going into that spot, supposedly the same as the original. All right, so I'll probably do this next bit and fast forward because it'll take a while. All right, well, that was super fun. Okay, The old chip is out. Whoever installed it had folded all the legs over onto the board, so they had to be pried up, straightened out before they would come out of the slot. I was using kind of like dentist tools, little picks and stuff. It's always nice to have a selection of those around. Okay, now we're gonna put the new guy in, and I'll probably do a little fast forward on that one as well. Okay, got the chip in. Now, before I go crazy with the solder here, I just lightly tacked everything in place. I'm gonna test the pedal really quick to make sure I've got the chip installed the right way, because obviously it could go in two different ways, and there's no clear indication from the chip I took out which way is the right way. So, yeah, I'm gonna try it out real quick and see if it works. All right. Just about done with this pedal. I'm excited. So working on the Full Drive 2 from Fulltone. The processing chip, the IC chip, was bad. It was making crazy noises. I went ahead and put a mounting plate in here, as you can see, so that it was a little easier to put in the new chip. And then the other reason I did that is because all the people on the internet said that this is the chip you want. It's the 4558, so RC4558P is what I've got in here. And it works. It sounds like a tube screamer, so, you know, there's that. But the piece that I took out of here was covered with this gray stuff. And when I removed it, I found a different model number underneath there. So the original pedal design called for a different chip, which I just got from China. It took a couple of weeks, but this is an actual, you know, Texas Instruments chip. The model number is TLE2072AC. And that is what was in this pedal originally. So I'm gonna do a little audio test between this chip, which is in here now, and then I'm gonna swap it out for this one and see if there's any discernible difference in sound between the two. All right, guys, here's the 4558 chip in the pedal. I'm using a Telecaster single coil neck pickup, a really crappy solid state amp, and a stock Fender 12 speaker in a box. That's the clean. Here we go. So quite a bit louder, but not a ton of bite yet. And then here's with the volume pulled. Now we're getting a lot more dirt. Okay, and then with the boost. Okay, and now we'll try it with the other chip, the TLE2072AC. Same settings. I've got everything pointing straight up, 12 o'clock on the pedal, same guitar. All right, that's the clean tone. Oh yeah, I gotta plug this in. Okay. I think this is louder than the other chip. first listen. More drive. And then here's with the volume pulled. Okay, a little bit of dirt there. And then the boost. Boost doesn't seem to be as loud with this chip as it did with the other chip. It definitely saturates more, but I don't hear it getting any louder. I'd say overall, I prefer this chip to the other one. It has a little smokier quality to it. In the distortion. I don't know why that is, but that's just my ears, and that's how I hear it. Well, that's going to do it for this Fulltone repair. A couple of the things I'll mention before I close this up and give it back to the customer. I had to resolder just about every connection coming off of this board at one point or another while I was manipulating the pedal. All of those connections and wires were just breaking apart. So if you are going to work on one of these, just bear that in mind, that as you disassemble it, some of the wiring may come off of the board, or the wires themselves may give out. So just be prepared, have some extra wire around. I did replace a bunch of stuff with new wire that just seemed to be in better shape. The only other thing I'll mention is these Fulltone pedals, I'm pretty sure had rubber feet on the bottom. So these screws that go in to hold the cover plate on are extra long. Long enough that if you're not careful, you can damage the top of this switch with the screw, and that's what happened with this customer. So I actually had to take this switch apart, volume pot / switch apart, bend the metal back, and then reassemble it with some lubricant inside to get the action to work properly on the pull switch. To keep that from happening, I went ahead and filed down one of the screws so that it's not as long as all the rest. And that should prevent that from happening again. So when I put it back together, I'll use that small screw right here to save us any headaches.